This is Interview Connections TV, the show for podcasters and great guests. I am Jessica Rhodes, your host, and I am committed to helping you deliver valuable, actionable content, build your following, and grow your business. And today, I have another great interview here in Dallas, Texas at the GKIC Super Conference. We've heard some great people speak. There's been some great content, and I have spent some time with some of my favorite guest experts and podcasters. Nile Nickel here. Now, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
My name's Nile Nickel, LinkedInFocus.com, and I help people really learn how to leverage the power of LinkedIn to get the results they want, not only in their life, but in their business.
And Nile is the host of a radio show called Social Media Business Hour that you can listen to live on Mondays at 7 Eastern Time at lifeimprovementradio.com, but he's also he's been interviewed probably over 100 times over the past year.
Probably now over 300, but it's a large number.
Even more, yeah. So, and he's got some great tips that I want to share with you about how to be a great guest, and also give some tips for podcasters on how to be a great host, from the guest perspective. So, Nile, how first have interviews helped? How have they helped build your business? Why do you do so many interviews?
Well, one of the things that I've found is every interview that I do, I will look at the analytics, the downloads that I'm getting, or the free opt-in offers that I get. And generally, after every interview, I get somewhere on a bad interview, maybe 2 to 3. On a good interview, it may be as many as 25 new opt-ins.
Wow.
Now, the neat thing is a lot of those interviews aren't played just once. They're played multiple times. So I could do one interview, and literally that interview could be played up to 500 times.
That's amazing. And the reason I really wanted to interview Nile is when he told me about that strategy of checking your opt-ins and seeing people opt in, is because it's when you do a podcast interview, it's not always about getting an interview and then getting a new client. People don't translate into a client that fast. It's about bringing them into your funnel, getting them into your audience, getting them onto your list so you can start nurturing those relationships. And by getting interviewed, that's a great way to do that. Now you are a host, but I want you to think from the guest perspective. When you're interviewed, I'm sure you've had hosts that really rocked your world and gave a great interview, and I'm sure you've had hosts that could have been better. So what tips do you have for our podcasters out there on how to be a great host?
Well, maybe from my own experience first, is I've had interviews where it's dry. You'll get asked a question and there's nothing. It's crickets on the other end. When that happens, you've got to be creative, and you have to pick it up and carry it. On the other hand, I've had a number of interviews that's very conversational. And when it's conversational like that, it's very easy. It just flows naturally. And by the way, that makes it a better experience for the listener as well.
It sure does.
Well,
I was going to ask if you could elaborate on how to be conversational in an interview.
Well, generally, and we'll intermix some of the questions here, because one of the things that you ask about is, as an interviewer, as opposed to the interviewee, what do I like? And I know what I like is I like to know the questions that the interviewee is comfortable with, would like to be asked. I like to have at least a brief conversation before they go on the air or recorded to say, this is the type of format that we have in the show. So not only am I just doing an interview and I've got the questions, but I say it's loose, it's conversational, it's relaxing. Think of us sitting down having a cup of coffee, and as we're doing that, it's just going to naturally flow. It generally puts them at ease, and as it does, it's much easier to become more conversational. Now, likewise, for the great interviews that I've had and the great interviewers, they've all at least come on and said, hey, this is who I am, this is what our show's about, just relax, kick back, enjoy. We're just going to have fun. And, I've got your questions here. Here's the questions I've got. Are they okay? Yeah, great. Anything you don't want to touch on? Great. And by the way, this is your website, is that right? And am I pronouncing it right?
Right.
Because a lot, not all, but a lot of the interviews you do and a lot of the podcasts you do, they will give you a plug. I mean, obviously, it's why you're there.
Right.
Will that happen all the time? Absolutely not. You can't get hung up on that. You've got to look at the bigger picture, and the bigger picture is I did 300 interviews last year at least, and out of those 300, 250 asked that question. As a matter of fact, because of the interview and the conversation, they spent another 30 seconds to 3 minutes promoting my business
Right.
and my website.
Right.
That's what we're sort of there for.
Exactly. So I hope you got a lot of great content in that interview, a lot of great tips. Remember, when you go on these interviews, it's all about talking about your story and the information. As the interviewer, make sure they know your format. Is it going to be a question and answer, a very content-driven interview, or is it going to be more of a free-flowing conversation? Know what your style is, and make sure your guest knows that, because that's going to make for an interview and a podcast that is going to be very enjoyable to listen to. So, Nile, how can our listeners or our viewers learn more about you, connect with you, and if they want to set up an interview with you, how can they do that?
Well, if they want to set up an interview with me, of course, they go to Interview Connections because Jessica sets up everything. And by the way, it couldn't be easier. I've got a business to run. I'm doing a lot of things. And what Jessica does is she makes it completely mindless for me. I don't have to do anything except show up. She knows what my format is. She knows the way that I like to do things. She's interviewed me to ask those questions, and so she delivers exactly what I need. In fact, I could go on the air. It's a live broadcast, so I could go on the air literally with no preparation at all and have a good interview, just from what you provide.
Well, thank you for highlighting me in your clothes, but yes.
Now, I'll get to the other one. If they want to get to me, they could go to linkedinfocus.com, register for my free tips. There's a lot of great content there. I believe in giving value. You'll also get free tips on a weekly basis. But yeah, likewise, they could connect with me on LinkedIn.
Perfect.
Great way to connect with me. And of course, you can find me on Facebook, but LinkedIn's the better place.
Remember, I am Jessica Rhodes, founder of InterviewConnections.com. I am committed to helping you deliver more valuable, actionable content, build your following, and build your business. Until next time, have a great week, everyone.